Welcome to the TCS Women Podcast, where the ladies of the top contractor school are going to get together to discuss what it's like to be a woman in construction, leadership, and navigating the balance between it all. Your host for the TCS Women Podcast will be Karla Goldammer, who has been in construction for almost 30 years with D&J Site Construction. She will be accompanied by a rotation of co-hosts that include Elizabeth Reinman of RK Reinman Construction, Sandra Albert of Bay Country Contractors, Lillian Calloway of K&L Industries, and Kelsey Wright of Pro Line Parking Lot Maintenance. Let's get started.
All right, guys, welcome to TCS Women's Podcast. Today, I am your host, Sandra Albert, coming to you from Bay Country Contractors here in Southern Maryland, Leonardtown, and also my co-host, Karla.
Hi, everyone. Karla Goldammer, President of D&J Site Construction from McAllen, Texas.
And our special guest today, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Maris Todaro. I'm Holland Paving in Cleveland, Ohio.
Woo! We are super excited to have you guys today on our podcast. We have a special guest who's already introduced herself, Maris. I have been excited to bring Maris onto this podcast. One, not only because she's a woman, but two, because she's also part of our TCS membership, and she is a rock star, an owner of an asphalt, seal coat and paving company. And we are super excited to get to know her today and her journey and what she can bring to us women here on the podcast. Welcome, Maris.
Thank you.
So when I first met you, I was really taken back because I knew that in talking to you, you were a super, super strong leader. And then I came to find out that you own your own asphalt company. And I was like, wow, we might have to bleep this out, but she's a badass. I am super excited to know your journey, and Karla and I have some really just, interesting questions for you to get to know you, to get to know, yourself as a woman inside of the construction industry and or the asphalt world. So let's get started and find out, more about you. Tell me about yourself. Tell me how you got into the asphalt industry and how you became an owner.
Well, it's been quite a journey. I grew up in a blue collar family in a white collar community just outside of Cleveland. My father was a carry-all driver and progressed into an opportunity to buy a business. So most of my childhood nights were spent, hopping in the pickup truck with him, going out to measure driveways and going on sales calls, which led to, being on job sites. I worked for him from the time I was 18 until, my late 20s, I would say. He had his own business, and, he had made some business decisions later at the end of his career that ended up, he basically had to close the doors, which was pretty devastating to our family. So, being the guy that he was, he kind of, he regrouped and he was able to go and work for actually this company now that I own, and as a sales rep. And so that's kind of how I got brought into working here at Holland. Later, he had called me and said, hey, they need some help with their books here. They need some help with a few things. I had taken a different career path. I actually decided I was going to become a hairstylist. So I went through all of this training and school, and I got a job as a hairstylist, and I absolutely hated it. It was all, nights and weekends, and he said, they need you here to help them with a few things. So a woman had embezzled money from them and all of this. So I came in and I was helping them with their books. And I was like, man, like I really miss this industry, this atmosphere, these people, all of that. So I never left really. And I was, handling then their schedule, their books, their for the previous owner, the Holland family. So fast forward, my dad passed in 2014. And at that point, he had quite a few customers here, and I took on his customers and cared for them, and which led to later an opportunity to buy the company from the Holland family. So navigated, that long process, getting an SBA loan, and what that looks like with a business partner who we were both previous employees here, and transitioning into an ownership role. So that was 2018 that we ended up closing the deal, and so here I am. It's been a pretty interesting ride, from that to stepping straight into COVID and navigating that whole, you never expect something like that to happen right after you purchase a business, and you're navigating all of these other things. And so it's been real interesting.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your dad. I mean, that's a huge loss, but I'm sure that he is super proud of you to see where you have stepped in, picked up, and ran with it.
Yeah. It's he always really encouraged me, looking back on it, he really always gave me that little bit of, well, you can do that too, and he would always send me out, like, I want you to go and, work with this woman for the day. He wanted me to always see, like, women can do this. Women, there's a lot of, and that was, in the early 90s, and so he was always encouraging me to, look at her, she's a roller operator. That's a really good job. Look at her, she, and so that was really, really important to me, to have somebody like that supporting, telling me, like, it's okay, women can do this too. And so here we are, we're doing it.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Karla. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. No, I was just going to ask, since coming into the industry, what do you see as your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
Oh, wow, there's been so many. I think that just kind of finding your own voice, and some of the bigger challenges, it's really hard to navigate, not overcompensate for being a woman. Like, I realize a lot of times it'd be like, if someone would question whether or not basically you had enough knowledge to do what you were doing, I would find that then I was like just gonna pour out all of this knowledge to them. Like, I'll show them, I'm just gonna cram all this knowledge into, and just kind of pulling back from that. Like, okay, you don't, like, chill out. You don't need to, overcompensate. You just need to be, knowledgeable and steady, with that, and just navigating that, not, the emotions that come along with being a woman in this, and being challenged by different customers, different employees, coworkers, navigating, going from being an employee to being an owner, and having, working with the same group of people, but stepping into an ownership role. So, that was really challenging. Navigating, obviously, COVID and how are we going to survive? How are we going to pay this note? That was very difficult. And the list goes on and on, of the different challenges that we've definitely had here. Did I answer all your questions?
You did. Your business partner, Maris, is your business partner a male or a female?
A male.
Male. So talk about that. Talk about the leadership styles and the differences between leading man versus woman, how that impacts your team, how you guys make decisions together, and maybe any challenges that you guys have had, in the gender type roles.
Oh, that's interesting. Today's been one of those challenging days. When you're going through the process of buying a company, there's a lot of things that you don't think about. And you don't think about how you're just trying to get through it and get to the finish line. At least we were, and we didn't think about, okay, so when someone comes to us with a question, like, how are we going to handle that? And so what ends up happening when you don't have that clearly defined is they play the mom and dad. They quickly, everyone, when I say they, all of the staff quickly figures out how to get what they want or what they need, by, and so it became really important that we do define, like, who's in charge of what roles, and it's an ongoing process, but just trying to communicate with one another and, learning that I tend to be the tougher of the two. They're usually sneaking into John's side of the room if they want a raise or if they want, something specific, so, we had to clearly define, like, okay, no, we need to make these decisions together and we don't have to give answers right away. So that's definitely been a challenge for us. But, you just have to communicate with one another. And sometimes I just have to make him communicate with me by, just making the time, setting the time on the schedule with him, to sit down and go through these things.
I want to add to that point. Something that I notice in the gender roles inside of Bay Country for Daniel and I is that I feel like sometimes as the woman, you're kind of always expected to be the cheerleader. You're always expected to be like the one who's like always happy, like motivating, like nurturing. And there are days that I have off days. And then, Daniel will come to me and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing, I'm fine. But he's like, but you're not that like happy, cheerful self. And I'm like, okay, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I'm always this like on point, here I am, loving, happy person. Like some days I have off days. So I think sometimes it's challenging because like he looks to me to be, like I said, that cheerleader every day because I'm the woman. But, again, like we have off days. And so I feel like that can kind of sometimes like throw us off for the day because he's like, you're in a bad mood. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's just a day. I'm just not the happy-go-lucky today.
Yeah, I understand that. I know I do that to my husband a lot. He makes me laugh and he's usually always in a good mood. So when he's not, I'm like almost annoyed with him that he's not happy. Like, you're my happy. So funny.
So tell us about what mentors you've had since coming into the construction industry?
Well, I mean, I talked a little bit about my dad. He was, my biggest mentor, my biggest cheerleader. And I've had other mentors that I would say I've learned how to be, and I've also learned how not to be. So, some mentor, they say some people are here for, what is it, a reason, a season, or a lifetime, or, and so there's definitely been that. So I've taken the best qualities of some of these people that were in my life for a season. And I've also learned from some of the qualities that I didn't find, were good qualities, and tried to, make sure that I don't forget that and how to treat people.
I know I've learned a lot of things like that from people that aren't necessarily in the industry, but I worked under or around in different job positions and stuff.
Yeah. That there really haven't been all that many, I would say, mentors, so to speak, but I mean, I definitely have a huge support group, with the TCS group, with even the women in this office, and women that have been in this industry for a very long time, from different asphalt families that now work here, and really everyone that works here is I would consider, part of our team, part of my team, my mentorship.
How many women do you have working for you?
Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this year, we actually hired and brought in a female superintendent. Her name's Amanda. So that was a pretty awesome transition, and she made me very proud. She made me very proud out there. So she did a great job. Amazing person. So I'm hoping to get her to some of the TCS stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maris, I have a background similar to yours. I too also have my cosmetology license. I've dabbled in, I feel like, a bunch of everything. Here we are in construction.
That's so funny.
Hair and construction, they're kind of the same, right? It's a mess. We need to make it look pretty again. What advice would you give young women considering a career in construction or in the, asphalt business? What advice would you give them?
Oh, wow. What advice would I give someone coming into the industry, or
making a career change, doing something completely different, right? Going from hair to construction. I mean, that's like a 180.
Right. So, you can absolutely get into this. It could be a very lucrative career path. It can be extremely exciting. There's so many different areas of this industry that, more and more women are getting involved in. And what advice would I really give? If you don't get the answer that you were looking for, call back and try again. Just keep trying. If it's really something you really want to get into, there's just so many different avenues that you could take from here. And I feel like the wins are really big in this industry when you pull off a job and you see the finished product, and you make these connections with customers, and you build these teams. It's an awesome community. It's a great, there's just something about asphalt people, it's just, I don't know, but you just got to be around it. And I would say just stick with it and reach out to everyone around you, do your research, and it's a great career choice.
Definitely. Looking back in the whole time that you spent in the industry, what is something that you've learned that sticks out in your mind?
Well, there's been quite a few things, but in most instances, I do not need to make a decision right now. So that's been a tough lesson. So just kind of being able to say, hey, let me think about that. I will get back to you, instead of, rushing into a decision that I later go, why did I do that? What was I thinking? Most decisions can be tabled, until you're able to really think it through. And that's part of my process that I've realized about myself. Of course, there's decisions that need to be made, right away. And it's figuring out what those decisions are. I would say that that's been kind of a pain point, a painful lesson sometimes, when you make a really abrupt decision that had a lot of emotion involved in it. And it was like, man, I should have slept on that. I should have maybe ran this by someone else. And most of the time, something else that I've learned is, find out all the details of what's going on. Listen to the people around you. Find out, most of the time, maybe whatever is going on has nothing to do with you. Maybe somebody's having a problem at home. Maybe, it's coming out in whatever, their attendance. It's coming out in, so really taking that time to try to talk to that person. Most of the time people just want to be heard, and you walk away going, wow, I never saw that coming. I'm glad I didn't, make a decision without talking to that person. And then there's times where maybe you need to talk to multiple people. So.
Yeah, figuring out the facts sometimes can be hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, Maris, tell us, how do you celebrate the wins, big and small, at your company? How do you celebrate the women? How do you celebrate the men? How are you promoting culture inside of your business? What are you doing?
Well, on Wednesdays we wear pink here. So that's one way. And I just try to do little things when I can. It was really fun to go out on a job last week, and it was cold out. Really cold out, and I had made a big pot of rice and beans, and I showed up. I popped the back of the truck, and I was like, all right, everybody's got to wear these glasses. So I have these crazy like Christmas glasses. I had them over here somewhere, and so they had so much fun. They were paving with these glasses, and it was, like I stopped at the dollar store and picked them up, and, just to see them having a great time together wearing these silly glasses, it's the little things like that, they go a long way with these guys. Sometimes more than, any sort of money or anything like that, just to say, hey, like, here's some lunch. I appreciate you guys, and let's have some fun and get this job done. And then that rubs off on, the customer, and they see they're having fun, and, it just kind of makes us more of a family, get a good time. So, we do some other things here on Fridays. We try to do, we always do a sales meeting. So we celebrate, where we're at, or where we're not at, and how far we are away from our goals, who brought in what contracts for the week. And we kind of briefly go through a rundown of, the jobs that were completed, and, celebrate some of the wins in that way.
So I think we all do this sometimes when we think about our younger selves. And what's one thing you would tell yourself, your younger self, looking back now, starting when you came into the industry?
Oh, that's a tough one. Something I would tell my younger self.
Or a piece of advice you wish somebody would have told you when you started.
Yeah. Measure twice, cut once. No.
That's actually good advice.
It is.
It is actually. Honestly, I'm having a hard time with that one, because I know that there is something that's going to come to me. So ask me another one. I'll think of something.
Well, Karla, how about you answer that question?
Yeah.
If I was to go back and tell my younger self, put my arm around myself and say, you can do this. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be rocky, but you can do this. It doesn't matter what anybody else says or hasn't said to you. I believe in you. I believe in myself. So I wish, that's what I would tell myself.
I think something I would tell myself is that I don't have to prove myself. I find myself over and over again having to prove my title, my experience, my gender. Like, I feel like I'm constantly having to prove myself, and I don't need to. I don't have to prove myself to the world. The only person that matters is myself to myself, and, when you go out here into the world of construction, and it's obviously very male dominated, I do find myself over and over again trying to prove myself. And it's like, I just need to be confident in who I am and the role that I play. And I don't need to be egotistical or have to prove myself. Like, my work shows it. My ethics show it. My culture shows it. My core values show it. Like, I don't have to prove myself to anyone.
And me being 57 now, I can honestly say, if I don't know the answer, I don't mind saying, you know what? I don't know that, but I'll get back to you. Let me figure this out.
Yeah.
I don't have to know everything. That's what I have my guys for.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Having those people around you, that it's like, I don't know, you're way better at this than I am, so let's, show me how you got there. Somebody here has above his desk, it says it's only an event. And I love that, because, after all, it is. Most things, we get so stressed out over it. It's just an event. And I don't know who it is in the group that says something like, consistently doing the right thing, you have to get the right results, or something like that. I think that's it's impossible to get the wrong results if you consistently do the right thing, right? So I think that's, I actually wrote it on our wall here, because that's very much how I try to live my life. And I try to encourage that in everyone here. Integrity is a big thing.
Are those part of your core values for your company?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Integrity is huge.
It is huge. Maris, if I was to ask you one thing as far as your involvement in TCS, you've been in the group for over a year now. What has your experience been inside of TCS? And what is something that you're looking forward to getting from TCS Women?
Oh, well, this group of people are amazing, really amazing. I've been involved in many different groups, and there's never been really a group that you just walk into the room and you instantly feel welcomed, loved, cared for, genuinely listened to, and it's everyone in the group. So, and at first I really was like, are they for real? Like, are all these people this nice? And yeah, the support in the group has been awesome. And I just look forward to, spending more time, especially, I haven't been on many calls recently, but I'm looking forward to spending more time getting to know some of the women in the group, and forming some new relationships in the group. Now that we're slowing things down a little bit.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Go ahead.
Building on that, is there like something you would like the women's group to promote, or like a training or a certain subject or anything that you would bring your whole team of women on the call for?
Ooh. I'm sure there's probably a lot of things that we could benefit from. Some of the things that we're currently going through with our scheduling process, we're going to be going through, part of the struggle we're having is, the points of contact with the customer and who's making them, and making sure that no matter how busy we get, that we have a structure for keeping that customer informed of what's going on, and who's making that contact, and when are those calls made, how are they made, and that there's a process for that. Because what's ended up happening a lot of times is, we all get busy and we might think that the other person is making that phone call or staying in contact with the customer, and then you find out afterward, like, well, no one contacted me, and that's the last thing we want to happen. So process would be something that would be helpful to us. Points of contact, clearly defining, those roles. Okay. Job costing, we're working on some of that stuff too.
Awesome. Well, Maris, we really appreciate you being our guest today on the TCS Women Podcast. I do know you have social media, hollandpaving.com. Holland Paving is your Instagram handle, and Holland Paving and Sealcoating on Facebook. So to all of our listeners out there, anybody looking for paving and seal coating in the Cleveland, Ohio area, please hit up Holland Paving. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Karla, for hosting, and thanks for being a wonderful guest. We'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks.
Welcome to the TCS Women Podcast, where the ladies of the top contractor school are going to get together to discuss what it's like to be a woman in construction, leadership, and navigating the balance between it all. Your host for the TCS Women Podcast will be Karla Goldammer, who has been in construction for almost 30 years with D&J Site Construction. She will be accompanied by a rotation of co-hosts that include Elizabeth Reinman of RK Reinman Construction, Sandra Albert of Bay Country Contractors, Lillian Calloway of K&L Industries, and Kelsey Wright of Pro Line Parking Lot Maintenance. Let's get started.